Al Hurricane Jr. family has asked for privacy. But the tributes that have poured out of New Mexico's music world in the days since his death are already telling us exactly what that goodbye is going to hold. And the three men who felt it most deeply are already speaking from the bottom of everything they carry. Al Hurricane Jr., known as El Godson of New Mexico music, died on May 19, 2026. He was 66. He died suddenly at his home. No cause of death was provided. And when the funeral comes, when the doors open and New Mexico gathers, the room will hold something that no other state's musical tradition could produce. The full weight of a dynasty, 3 generations of the Sanchez family, and the people who stood beside Al Hurricane Jr. on stages across the Southwest for 50 years, now standing together around his casket. Let's start with Lorenzo Antonio, his nephew, the one who grew up inside this dynasty, who performed on collaborative albums with the family as far back as 1980, who looked at Al Hurricane Sr. and Al Hurricane Jr. the way a young musician looks at the people who showed him what the whole thing was supposed to sound like. He wrote in Spanish on social media, "A day of much sadness. I don't even know what to say. I'm in shock. Rest in peace, my cousin." I don't even know what to say. From a man who has spent his entire career finding the words, the songs, the performances, the precise, specific language of New Mexico music that carries culture and history and family in every line. And for once, the language ran out. A guitarist who worked closely with the family for nearly 20 years said Lorenzo Antonio, along with Sparks, a band made up of 4 of Al Hurricane Jr.'s nieces, represent the next generation of this dynasty. The whole Sanchez family, he said, are New Mexico music through and through. Through and through. It is not just a career. It is blood. It is the land. It is 60 years of the same family carrying the same sound forward generation by generation, and Lorenzo Antonio is the one who carries it next. Now Tiny Morrie, the uncle, the man who performed alongside Al Hurricane Sr. and Al Hurricane Jr. for decades, who shared stages, shared records, shared the specific, irreplaceable experience of being inside a family that built an entire state's musical identity. Al Hurricane Jr. himself spoke about this in a 2024 interview just 2 years before his death. "I was so blessed. It was Al Hurricane, Tiny Morrie, Baby Gaby, and then Al Hurricane Jr. That was such a milestone in my career to have my name up there with those guys." He was grateful to be beside them, even after decades of being El Godson, after carrying the family name into every venue and festival and television appearance across the state. He still felt the specific humility of a son who was proud to stand next to his father and his uncles. Tiny Morrie is now at a service for the nephew he watched grow up, the boy who first performed at 5 years old, who became the godson, who carried everything they built, and who is now gone at 66. And then Jerry Dean, the brother, who posted the most human, most direct thing anyone in New Mexico's music world has said since the news broke. Jerry Dean, a musician himself, posted, "My heart is truly broken. My heart is truly broken." 4 words. From a brother who grew up in the same household with the same music and the same father, and the same name on the same bill across the same decades. One community member captured exactly what Jerry Dean carries into that funeral. "I remember being a little boy and running in the kitchen. My mom would be cooking breakfast, and they would have that 89.1 on with the radio in the mornings. Hurricane Sr., Jr., Jerry Dean's music playing. That's how you knew the breakfast was cooking in the kitchen. That's how you knew the breakfast was cooking. That is the reach of this family's music, not the concert venues, the kitchens, the radio in the morning, the sound that meant home." And Jerry Dean is now attending the funeral of the brother whose music was the soundtrack to someone else's childhood kitchen, whose voice on the radio meant that everything was okay, that it was morning, that the food was warm, that New Mexico was still New Mexico. One musician summarized it perfectly. It's as important to the culture as green and red chili. Green and red chili, the most New Mexico sentence imaginable, and the most accurate tribute to a man who was not just a musician. He was a flavor, a feeling, a specific, unrepeatable part of what it means to be from the land of enchantment. Que viva el Godson. Rest in peace, Al Hurricane Jr. October 30, 1959, May 19, 2026. Thank you for watching.